What's going on?
I think my Fathom's here, but I can pop it out. I don't know if you do a bunch of Fathoms or what you guys do.
Yeah, you're fine to have your Fathom in here. That's not a problem. Uh,
Cool. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
I gotta bump up Pedro. I'll hit him up over Facebook.
Awesome. All right. Just a second. We'll start everybody in here. I will probably end up turning my camera off a
Yeah.
little bit in because they scheduled one of my daughter's lacrosse games tonight.
I was a lax bro. I get it.
So but it's your show anyway. So we'll get everybody in here.
Easy. And we have the hour, right?
Yeah. Yep. And we
Perfect.
got about 18 people already in the waiting room. So
Love it. And these are all insiders people.
yep.
Awesome.
All right, Roseanne, how we doing? Great to see you guys. Michael,
What's up, guys?
That doesn't look like Brendan. Amy, there we go. Kamaya, how we doing, guys? Awesome. All right, beautiful. So we will be getting started here in just a couple minutes. I'll give everybody just a second to jump in. Obviously, would appreciate it if you guys have a camera, if you can turn it on. How you show up for others is how others will show up for you. So be fantastic if we can get those cameras on. Obviously, unless if you're in the bathroom or naked or something crazy like that, we don't need any of that nonsense. But otherwise, it'd be fantastic to have your cameras on and give some energy to Mason showing up for you guys today. So we'll be jumping into scriptless sales mastery. So for those of you who haven't met Mason before, um, Mason Church. He has closed over 6 million in online sales, working entirely remote. He's uh, one of the legends behind people like Taylor Conroy, Sarah Turner, Jeremy Miner, Andrew Cruzy, um, and several of the aforementioned have landed on the Inc. 5000 after his coaching. And um, I love the sales process that he takes you through because it's a much more no pressure style, very conversational, and also closes a lot of deals and moves your revenue fast. So um, excited to introduce him to you guys, and we'll be turning over the mic to him shortly.
Yeah.
Um, Mason, if you wanted to go ahead and feel free to
Sure. Appreciate
jump
the love.
in.
I see a few familiar faces in here, which is awesome. Good to see you guys. I see Carlos, Ian. Good to see you guys. Um, Appreciate the intro. So yeah, I work with Andrew Cruzy right now over at Seven Figure CEO. I do my own sales coaching as well, and really intention for coming here is to help you guys close more sales. That's it. After chatting with Jay, after chatting with Andrew Nagel here, what I realized is like you guys are incredible at generating leads and have that skill on lock. And so what we figured would be helpful for you guys is what do you do once you get them on the phone? How do you get them on the phone? How do you close them effortlessly? How do you make this natural for you guys? Right? Because one of the biggest challenges I see for people when they get into sales is they either feel maybe pushy, salesy, awkward. There's this sense of like hesitation, maybe like, oh, I need to be like a used car salesman. I'd say drop a one in the chat if you guys have ever felt a little bit awkward about sales or maybe felt a little bit odd about like reaching out to people, just like that sensation. They call it sales resistance. I know I've felt it a ton. It's like, oh, like, am I really about to call this person? Oh, am I really going to ask for that money? Oh, am I going to overcome that objection? I'll drop some ones in the chat if you guys have ever experienced any of those. I'd also love to see, because I want to give you guys a sense of what we're going to get out of today as well while we're getting those ones in the chat. Unless we got a bunch of sales gurus who never felt that. Maybe I'm just alone. Let's see. What we're going to get in today is how to close deals effortlessly, how to do it in a way without being pushy, how to do it in a way without being awkward, and actually having your prospects thank you guys for enrolling them in your services. Because like, how would that feel for you to get to the end of a sales conversation and know that your prospects are actually stoked, not only to buy, but like they're literally saying, thank you for helping me and thank you for serving me. If that resonates, I would just drop a 2 in the chat, be like, hell yeah, I want more sales like that, where people are stoked. They're saying, thank you. Who else can I refer? If you're down for that, drop some 2s. The more energy you guys give me, the more energy I will give you. Now, to make this as just powerful as possible for you guys, I always want to like customize it, right? So drop what you sell in the chat, what your current offer is. And that way today, as we're going through the training and I'm going through the framework that I'm going to teach you, I'll actually give you guys specific examples, literally perfectly tailored to what you guys sell. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be lead gen. Oh, I love this. High ticket fitness, lead gen, life insurance. Ooh, I used to train a lot of life insurance guys. Real estate investing, paid media marketing, tech recruiting. Ooh, we got a diverse room. Business insurance, ERP. All right, high ticket affiliate, MLM. I used to be in that. That was actually my start. And just to give you guys a little context on who I am, then that's actually a great one, the MLM. That was my start in sales, guys. I used to be a medical device engineer, and back in 2019, I was designing implants for spine surgeries. I had just gotten out of college, and ironically, I started developing a bunch of nerve pain in my body, which is what I was designing implants to help people with. And that caused me to have to reevaluate my entire life and restart, and it forced me into sales, and MLM was my entry point to that. So I think that's a great way to get in the game, a great way to learn. It was humbling for sure, but ultimately led to learning about high ticket coaching, which I see a couple of you guys are in. And that's really where my journey led to, working with Jeremy Miner, with Taylor Conroy, and just closing like millions in sales one-to-one over Zoom. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up the Scriptless Sales Doc. We'll go through the training, and there's a few pieces that I want you guys to write this down because this is going to be really helpful. The first piece is going to be beliefs. So I'd write that down, beliefs. And this is something I got from Cole Gordon. And Ian, I'll come back to that in a minute. The beliefs is the number one. So write number 1, write beliefs. Number 2 is going to be problem questions. And number 3 will be solution questions. If you guys can just remember that today and we can integrate it and start to implement it, you're going to be in an exponentially better position to close. And that beliefs piece is so important because between Eli Wild, Cole Gordon, mentors that I've paid over like 50K myself, they helped me realize that there's 2 things going on with beliefs. There's the beliefs that I hold as the salesperson. There's the beliefs that the prospect holds. And it's really our job in a sales conversation, not so much to pitch somebody, but to actually get them to take on beliefs that are going to help them to buy. For example, if you guys ever heard of Russell Brunson, drop a 2 in the chat. If you guys ever heard of Russell before, maybe I'm the only one. Cool. The belief that he's selling people on is not to buy ClickFunnels. He's saying the best way to grow online is a funnel, and then the way to do that is ClickFunnels. So for another example, I used to sell for Taylor Conroy for TEDx, helping people get on TEDx talks and become basically professional speakers. He said, if you want to grow an audience, the best way to do that is public speaking. And the best way I know to do that is TEDx. So you'd sell them on the vehicle and then the product second. So whenever I'm in a sales conversation, I'm always thinking about what beliefs am I trying to install in my buyer? I'm not thinking about how do I pitch them? I'm thinking about what would they need to believe? So if we were to give you guys the 5 beliefs that they need to have so they can close, would that be helpful? Drop a little love, a little hand raise, a little something, something. Sweet. So let's pull it up and let's dive right into it. And I will get you guys this doc in the insiders group, by the way, the Scriptless Sales Call system. I just want to make sure you guys can, someone can come off mute and make sure I'm not crazy, that you guys can actually see this okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sweet. So the main beliefs, whenever I'm on a sales call, guys, and I get into any sales situation, I'm thinking these are the 5 core beliefs that I want to install into my prospects so that they're actually in a position where I feel like, okay, if I have the right offer, they can buy. The first one is pain, which is essentially getting someone to admit that they have a problem. And as simple and as fundamental as this seems, guys, as humans, we have an avoidant tendency, meaning we want to avoid pain and we want to move towards pleasure. So oftentimes what you guys might notice when you ask your prospects questions, they kind of dodge them. I want to see if anyone else has maybe ever experienced that. Drop a 1 in the chat if you ever had someone just dodge your questions or be awkward about your questions, or maybe they just don't really answer it. It's something I've been up against all for years. After taking 5,000 sales calls, I've noticed that people just don't want to admit that they have a problem, right? So the very first belief that I'm looking to install is essentially what is in a problem? The definition of a problem. I would really write this down is an area of dissatisfaction or an area that's not up to standard. That's when I know they have pain. An area of dissatisfaction or an area that's not up to standard. Essentially, I'm getting someone to admit that they are not happy in some area of their life, of their business, of their wealth, of their health, whatever it is that you sell. It's not just to get them to admit pain in life, but to get them to admit pain and relevance of your possible solution. You guys with me on that? So that's that first belief is really just pain. The second one is doubt. This took me a couple of years to really get this one to click, but what the cool thing is I think I've got it so dialed now that I can get it across to you guys in like literally a minute. Doubt is the belief that they don't think it's worth solving on their own. And they don't think it's worth solving with YouTube. Whatever you guys sell, if you sell fitness coaching, you sell lead gen, you've probably had people say, hey, I need to think about it. I think I'm just going to try and watch YouTube videos. I think I'm just going to do the free group. I think I'm just going to do the lead magnet, the $27 offer. I'm just going to see if I can figure it out that way. Has anyone else ever experienced that, or is it just me? Let's see what we got here. Their world is not sunshine and rainbows. Mario, Nikita, yes, yeah. Amy, they're like, yeah, I think I'll figure it out on my own. And what doubt is, guys, is it's a spectrum. And so this is the second belief that I'm looking to install. And we'll just kind of give you guys an overview. We're going to go through the beliefs, and we're also going to go through the structure that's going to help you install these beliefs. So doubt, on one end, you have someone who's really cocky. And on the far opposite side, what you actually have is someone who is really underconfident. I'll give you guys two tangible examples of this. I used to sell an offer that helped women learn how to copywrite and clear 9 to 5. Think single moms, nurses, teachers. That was like the demographic I was talking to. They were not on the cocky side. They had been beaten down by life. Life had happened to them. And they actually needed someone to install belief and conviction into them that they could believe it was possible to even have a solution. Versus, I used to sell sales reps. Jeremy Miner, NEPQ, if you guys have ever heard of him, huge sales trainer. When I was talking to sales reps, they had the biggest ego in the world. They think they're the best thing since sliced bread. I had to notch them down their ego about 5 pegs. So that way they would even admit that they needed help. So the goal that you guys want to see is what kind of audience do I have? And do I need to build them up, or do I lovingly need to challenge them and break them down so they're in the middle? And this isn't even just an audience specific, it can be an individual. But when I sold to those women on average, right, they were usually on the underconfident and the guys were overconfident. Surprise, surprise, right? Is that helping? I'd love to get some shares and takeaways on the doubt concept really quick before we go further. Feel free to come off mute, guys. I'd love to hear from one or two of you since we have a smaller room today. Don't all jump off.
I'd love to know how you identify who's who.
Yeah.
Like that parallel of, am I gonna push this person and make them realize they have a problem? So just like today, a little bit more of a arrogance guy from like automations. He knows N8N, like his world's sunshine and rainbows. And if I ask him, what do you sell and who do you sell it to? He's so broad, and I'm like, so you're not anything different than anybody that's on. So I chose to go that route, right? Like I chose to go like push the buttons, like that's normally the way I go. You're not any different than anybody that's on Fiverr. Explain to me how you're different. And I usually use a story like Mark Cuban on Shark Tank would ask you, what makes you different? So I don't try to be confronting. I try to blend it in with a story. But then like I've heard Andrew, when he's talking to like Kamaya, who's also on this, and like even her copy of her audience, like that because her audience is a certain demographic target, that she needs to be softer. She doesn't need to use Ian Kirk copy. She needs to be nicer.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you do that? Like right at the beginning
real
is
time.
my question. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's when I recognize that someone is on the, let's say, the cocky side, maybe a little bit more arrogant. What I know in my mind is if I don't create doubt through skilled questions, which I'll teach you guys some of those skilled questions. If I don't create doubt through skilled questions, I know they're going to tell me that they're going to do more research. I know they're going to tell me I need to think about it. I know they're going to tell me, I think I'm just going to watch. I think I'll figure it out on my own. because they're comparing how much your investment is, whatever you're going to pitch them, to the concept of them doing it themselves. They think they have it all solved, right? So the way I really like check those people is data. I get into their numbers. If they're high level business owners, I will drill them about their numbers. And I guarantee you they will start to crumble. And not because I want to do that, but because I want to help them be exposed to the fact that there's things that they're not doing, there's things that they're not seeing, there's hidden gaps. And when you help them through your questions, you're not trying to attack them, but you're helping them realize there's hidden gaps, there's parts of their perception they're missing. You're creating open loops and they start to go, oh shit, I didn't think about it like that. Oh wow, I hadn't even considered that before. That internal dialogue that I am creating through my questions is causing doubt and it's moving them back towards the middle. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I just probably like lucked out because that's exactly the route I went down of like, so, okay, if you know all this stuff, like how many clients do you have and how much revenue you generated? And it was 0. I'm like, oh,
And
okay.
then-
So you're really
Yeah.
smart. You're really smart. You know how to build this stuff. You just don't know how to put it in front of or explain it right in the right framing so that you sound different than the Fiverr guy. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's exactly. And then he asked me, so do you do more calls like this on the insiders? I'm like, exactly. And so then I just like started showing him. But yeah, okay, I'm glad I did it. Glad I did it that way because I was. Yeah, I just keep throwing stuff against the wall and trying it. But I'm glad to hear that was the right.
That's a great point because guys,
okay.
The common tendency when I get on sales calls, people love to talk about what they're passionate about, and they also love to talk about what they're good about, what they're good at. And the thing is if someone comes to a sales call, I'm there to solve a problem. I'm not there to actually talk to them about all what they love and what they're good about. I'm there to actually help them talk about what they don't love and what they're not good at. So I'm going to redirect that focus, be like, totally, man, you're incredible at that. So ask me, I guess, what's keeping you from hitting the next level though? So I acknowledge them to like kind of stroke their ego. Because if I don't give them the validation they need, they're going to feel like they have to keep justifying themselves to me. And now I'm stuck listening to them pitch me about their product, which I just don't care. So I stroke their ego and I move on and I get my problem. Make sense? Yeah. So that's pain. And then there's doubt. If we have someone who's on the other side and they're maybe underconfident, I would show them testimonials. I would say, I mean, do you believe it's possible for you? What would stop you from believing it's possible for you? Like, are you open to explore that together? I would build them up like a cheerleader rather than kind of break them down. Make sense? And then we have cost, which is basically the belief that they believe in their mind it is more expensive to do nothing than it is to actually invest and make the change. And I like to make a key distinction here. This cost is financial, emotional, spiritual. It doesn't just have to be like a pure logical cost. It could really be emotionally rooted. Like the cost of when I used to sell TEDx talks, it's not like an ROI thing. They have this purpose they want to get out in the world. And I would ask them about what happens if they don't. Are they willing to settle? What would that mean for them? And they would compare the cost of the investment to the cost of not living their purpose. So depending on what you guys sell, I know we have tons of different offers in there. The goal is to get someone to actually commit to change, and that happens when they verbalize that the cost is going to be greater to do nothing. Now, the other two beliefs that I love to hit is desire. Desire is a clear future state, a clear vision of once their problems are solved from your solution, how are they going to feel? What's it going to look like? What are they actually stoked about seeing on the back end of this? And making sure that they feel like that reality can actually be brought into their life. And the last one, this was something I didn't learn for years in sales, was responsibility. And what I mean by that is ownership. A lot of people externalize their results. They externalize their problem. They externalize their situation. And when you're talking with them, what you'll hear is they're always justifying their results with external excuses rather than actually putting the focus and the blame internal, which is the only thing that would allow them to change. So whatever you guys sell, if it's fitness, if it's lead gen, anything where people could start to make excuses about why they're not getting that result, we want to be able to ask them tough questions. And I'll teach you guys these, and basically how to get that responsibility and the focus back onto them. I'd love to get some thoughts and takeaways on that last one because it's a little different, and I could give some examples if it's helpful. That last belief, responsibility. Is that crazy? Is that making sense? You guys can drop some notes in the chat. Let me know what you're hearing. Yeah.
I had a question, Manson.
Yeah, please.
Like for instance, let's say you are talking to like the underconfident person. How do you balance that with the responsibility like not coming off like this is what you have to do, this is what
Mm,
you should be doing. Like
yeah.
what type of verbiage would you use for them?
So I would write this down, guys. Telling is not selling.
Okay.
So instead of this is what you should do, what do you feel you need to do to change your life? What do you need to do to fix your business? What do you feel you need to do to actually make a change? I'm putting the responsibility on them to verbalize to me what they feel they need to do. It's a very small distinction. If you guys and you guys will have access to my sales calls in this training, what you'll notice is I really avoid telling people and I really focus on asking questions. Unless they're just totally not getting it, I might have to make a point and tell them, and then I'll still follow up with a question. So anytime you feel your guys self like going into like mansplaining mode where you're trying to explain something and like convince somebody of a position, get the hell out. You're in the wrong. You don't want to be right. You want to get it right. And the way you guys are going to do that is through asking questions and having them tell you what you want to hear. So like my whole thought process is how can I ask questions that get them to say what I would have wish I could have just told them straight up and pitched them. But because whatever we say is trash, whatever they say is straight gold. Anything I say is trash.
It's
Literally.
like getting them to say the script.
Precisely. That's the whole goal.
You're asking the right questions to get them to say the old school sales script to themselves.
They're pitching
Got
them.
it. Yep.
I'm not pitching them. Like literally, I'm asking them questions that cause them to pitch themselves. So if you guys could even just take one thing, like I don't expect you to take this entire document that I'm going to give you here today and integrate it into your sales process. That would be crazy. It's just like going to the gym. Like if you try to do 100 reps on day one, you're just going to burn out. The one thing I would say is just watch a few of your sales calls and literally say, hey, how could I turn that statement into a question? Anytime you see yourself trying to convince people and tell them how to do something, just ask yourself, how could I have turned that into a question that would have had them tell me? So turn your statements into questions. I would write that in the chat, statements into questions, just so it sticks in your mind. And you'll start to condition that as a response and you'll actually catch yourself. I do. I'll catch myself convincing and I go, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm doing it again. I'm trying to convince somebody. I'd be like, okay, well, actually, let me ask you this, and I'll pivot.
Yeah,
in real time.
I'm a huge believer of that, and I also share that with folks around me. Because the secret there is that when you make statements, if someone is polite and they don't agree with you, very few people are going to say, "No, man, that's your opinion," but that's what they're thinking the whole time. Whereas once you ask them a question, now you're forcing them to roll it through their brain, and now it's coming out of their mouth.
Exactly.
And now it's their idea.
And you'll see them go through that internal process, right? It's totally Socratic method. And sometimes I do tell people things, but I still would follow it up with a question. So Mario, if I were to tell you that the best way to get leads is X, Y, Z, and ABC, what would be your thoughts on hearing that? I would still follow it up with a question because it was a statement followed by a question because I still want your buy-in. I don't want you to just take it at surface level. Because like you said, people will just agree and appease, but they're actually just moving along because it's convenient and they're not being honest. They're not trying to be dishonest, but they're not giving the full truth. Make sense?
Yeah, and the worst part about it is that having a conversation inside their head, oh, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So now they're challenging you inside, and they're basically now putting up a barrier. Come on with your opinion. I'm ready for you.
Yeah, they feel the agenda, right? And so that's that sales resistance that we're attempting to avoid through questions. And the way I really avoid resistance is like asking questions, having genuine curiosity, and my intent is to see if there's a problem to be solved. I'm not there to pitch them. Like I don't go in thinking, oh man, I got this deal. Like I'm so excited. Like I'm confident in my ability, but my mindset when I get on a call is like, hey, what is the problem and can I genuinely help? Like a doctor would be, like a doctor frame, meaning the doctor doesn't get excited to prescribe you Vicodin. That'd be freaking weird. If you got into a consult and the doctor was like, dude, we're gonna get you some good Percocet, some good Vicodin today. You're gonna love this shit. You would be like, dude, doc, slow down. I just have a scraped knee. That's where resistance comes, where people are pushing an agenda rather than just being curious. So no, that's super, super helpful. Appreciate the share, Mario. Let me pull this back up for you guys. So in terms of actually making it happen, this framework is high level the framework that I used over 5,000 sales calls and is what I use to sell coaching services, agency services, really any sort of high ticket online offer one-to-one on a Zoom call. Like this was the generic framework that helped me with it. First piece is rapport. I think this is something that people actually botch completely. Where are you calling in from today? How you doing, buddy? And like take it way too far. I'm pretty, I don't want to say sharp, but I'm pretty direct. Like, hey, how's it going, man? Cool. Can you hear me, see me okay? Cool. What's been the highlight of your day? Like bang, bang, bang. Like I've got a cadence. I'm not just like trying to hang out in this space and like waste time. Because what we're unconsciously communicating there is like we like don't value our time if we just sit there and like try to find all these commonalities and connections. And it sort of feels salesy. They're like, dude, why you're here to solve a problem. You're not here to talk to me about your kids and the weather and all that stuff. Does that make sense, guys? So feel free to ask a few questions and be a human, like 1 or 2 rapport questions, but don't be a rapport whore. Like do not just hang out there. We're going to maybe spend 1 to 2 minutes max here, and then we're going to move into taking leadership on the call. And when I review calls, one of the biggest issues I see is that there isn't a clear sense of leadership and direction from the rep. And it feels like such a casual conversation that like no one knows where it's going and they're just flowing, which doesn't cause sales resistance, but we're also not moving somewhere together. So the way I love to kick off a call is, hey, name. I'd be like, hey, Andrew, can you hear me, see me okay? Okay, cool, man. If he didn't have his camera, guys, this is a pro tip because you guys are taking Zoom calls. I can hear you. I just can't see you though. Is your camera working okay? 95% of the time they will flip it on. And I really do want their camera to be on for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, I can actually read their body language. I can connect with them. It's more intimate. Two, if they're out and driving and you guys want to try to pitch some high ticket offer, chances are very little that they're actually in a position to genuinely hear, genuinely listen to your questions and do what's necessary to invest. Does that make sense, guys? So that's kind of like breaking. It's almost like people are in hypnosis. They're walking around life just in this like lull, and I want to break it. And they're like, oh shit, I actually have to get on the camera. Then from there, it's like simple, take control. So it looks like we got about 45 minutes here to booked in to chat about possibly helping you with X, Y, Z, and ABC. Is that right? If it was life insurance. So it looks like we got about 45 minutes booked in here to chat about possibly helping you get some protection and coverage for your family. Is that right? If it was lead gen, looks like we got about 45 minutes booked in here to chat with you about possibly helping you dial in like a new lead gen strategy. Is that right? Okay, great. When they say yes, then I'm going to move into getting a temperature check. Whatever you guys sell, we always want to have a pre-call video. So just as part of your sales process, your sales approach, every call you take should be pre-framed in some way, shape, or form. 10-minute video, 5-minute video. I want there to be a consistent process where you guys are sending content to them beforehand and then kind of giving them like a quick pop quiz. Hey, so what did you think about the video? What was your biggest takeaway? I always ask that to actually genuinely see if they've watched the content I saw and understand how warmed up are they in this funnel process. Do they know who we are? Do they not know who we are? So if I was selling for Jay, it might be like, hey, so was this a friend who referred you? Or like, how did you hear about us? Oh, I heard about us on YouTube. Okay, and the video I sent over, what were your thoughts on it? That first piece, I'm literally trying to understand their starting point. Is this person cold? Is this person warm? Do they know who we are? I'm asking myself like the basic questions. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions on that first piece, or what questions you guys have on just like that little opener? It's pretty simple.
And that kind of changes the avenue that you go down from like, because I was actually thinking about this today because we get them from all over the place, right? Like some of them are like, I've been watching Jay for 7 years or whatever, right? And other ones are like, oh, I just saw my first video today and clicked a button. So you cater it, right, in accordance to essentially how warm they are. Because
it depends on your call. If it's a triage call or if it's a pitch call. Like if it's just a triage call, yeah, I'm gonna figure out what I need to do to get them more warmed up. If it's literally booked as a sales call and they booked it today, I'd still take them through the process. Just because they booked today doesn't mean they can't close. I've closed those. It might be a little bit of fear, but there's a way to close it.
Okay.
It just depends. But yeah, how did you hear about us? If you guys have ads or different sources, it's a great question at the very beginning. I'd be like, how did you hear about us? Was this like a friend who referred you, or like how? Oh no, it was YouTube. Oh, okay, gotcha. I love to jot that down in my CRM and just know what lead source they came from as well and start to take trends. From there, framing the call this is like something that is like debated a lot in sales. Should you frame the call? Should you not frame the call? I'm a fan of it. I really am. I just don't do it in a weird way. The old way was like, today's call, we're going to go through your goals, your problems. And at the end of this call, we're going to make a yes or no decision. Are you okay with that? And it's like, what? That's like if I was on a first date and you're asking me to get married. Like, chill out, bro. Instead, the way I do it, I still think it's important to take like a sense of like a little bit of control and leadership on the calls so you don't lose control. You don't have people steamrolling you. And the way I found easiest to do it is just a little more conversational version of it. So really this first call is just a little bit more about your goals with, you know, your weight loss, your fitness, what your approach looks like currently, what's working, what's not. And then from there, I can walk you through what we got going on over here. Does that sound good? Cool. That's how I would frame it. I do recommend having a frame. It just like gives a sense of like, hey, I've got direction, and people are going to respect someone who has a little bit of leadership and a little bit of sense of where they're going and doesn't feel like lost to them. When I'm on the phone with a sales rep, if I feel like, why are they asking me these questions? I'm having that internal dialogue. I hate that. So this gives me a sense of, hey, we're all in agreement that this is where the call is going. This is the intention, that we're on the same like bus together, or we're exploring together. Does that make sense, guys? Cool. Then I want to get what I call their North Star. The very first major question is, with that in mind, what's the outcome you're looking for specifically in the next 3 to 6 months when it comes to XYZ? Depends what you sell. So with that in mind, what's the outcome you're looking for in the next 3 to 6 months when it comes to your health and fitness? Or if it's lead gen, okay, what's the outcome you're looking for specifically over the next 3 to 6 months when it comes to your lead gen and your revenue? I need to get some sort of sense of direction of where they want to go immediately, like a target. I don't need to know every detail about it, but I do want to know the generic direction. Do they want to lose weight? Do they want to build muscle? Do they want to get insurance and coverage for their home? Or maybe it's just final expense. I know some of you guys sell life insurance. I at least want to know what they're looking for so that the rest of the call could be based off the outcome that they're ideally looking for. What questions do you guys have on that so far, if anything? We're good, we're good, we're good. I see some heads nodding. That's good. Then once we have an outcome, I always like to use weight loss as a simple example because I think it's like the most clear. The outcome they might say is, yeah, I'm looking to lose 15 to 20 pounds over the next 3 months. Okay, perfect. Then we're going to move into situation questions, which is essentially understanding, hey, you say you want to get to this goal. What are you doing right now to achieve that? They say they want to make more money. They say they want to lose weight. They say they want more exposure. I want to understand their current behavior. Okay, so what are you doing now for like your weight loss and like fitness routine? Or what are you doing right now to get leads in your business? Or what are you doing right now to build your brand awareness? These are a couple different examples based off your industries. I'd love to have one of you guys come off mute for a different industry and just let me know what industry you're in, and we can actually kind of do a quick example of it just so you guys can see this. Anyone want to come off? Just let me know what industry you're in.
Sure, I'll come off. Employee benefits.
Okay, so you're selling like B2B to companies essentially?
Right. Any
Okay,
employer.
and they usually have like a benefits person in place already? And you're trying
They
to
may or may not.
Okay, perfect. So then the very first situation question is just like uncovering that basic data. Okay, great. Do you have someone for employee benefits currently? It's like a yes or no. And then it's literally just have to know that. And then the next question, if it's yes, okay, who do you have in place currently? What are you using at the moment? Okay, what kind of plan do you have with them? That's all I would need to know. That would be the situation. That's enough data for me to then go, okay, well, how long have you been with them? Okay, and what kind of results are you seeing? Do you like it? Down here, we're going to get into problem, which I'll talk about. Are you happy with it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What's one other example, guys, just so we can plug and play one other industry? Thank you, Michael. I love that.
Yep.
Business funding.
Business funding, so helping businesses basically get access to loans for starting or scaling.
Working capital, equipment loans, startup. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I'd be like, cool. So that's a pretty direct offer, right? Because you're straight up selling money. I'd be like, cool. So what are you actually looking for in terms of funding over the next 6 months? They might say, oh, I'm looking for this much. Okay, and what are you looking to use it for? This question, the outcome. Okay, and so what are you doing now to actually get access to funding so you can achieve those goals? Like, do you have a funder in place? Like, what are you doing currently around getting funding for the business? Okay. That would basically be where I would go with it as far as like the first question, understanding, are they working with anybody already? Are they not? I would want to get a little bit of background. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
What was that? It broke up.
Oh, I said definitely. Yep, makes sense.
Cool. Yep.
Yep.
Let's do one other industry just to plug it in, kind of get the trend going here.
Database reactivation.
Okay, so you're selling like, it's kind of like helping them get more out of their CRM that they already have.
Yeah, profit share, so no cost to them until it works.
Okay, cool. So as far as a situation question, I'd be like, what are you doing now to actually engage your leads and generate more sales out of the database you have? Or what are you doing currently to pull revenue out of the database you currently have? And then it would move on to, how long have you been using that strategy? Are you happy with it? Is it working? I essentially want to get them to admit that pain that we discussed earlier. But that first question could be, what are you doing currently to actually monetize the database you do have at the moment and reactivate them, if that's what you're selling? You want to get them aware of what actions are they taking in relation to what you sell. If it's weight loss, what are you doing now to lose weight? If it's lead gen, what are you doing now to generate leads? I just want them to get like a basic awareness of what behaviors and actions they're taking towards the goal. Does that make sense? Sweet, guys. Once we get them to let us know what actions they're taking, I want to know how long they've been doing it for, and I want to know results ASAP. The biggest place I see prospects avoid is they don't want to talk numbers, they don't want to talk results, and they try to avoid this and tell you a freaking story. What's your revenue? Oh, well, insert story. They're going to say anything but the damn revenue. You do need to get the numbers. Totally hear you, appreciate you sharing that. Now, sorry, I actually didn't get the revenue number. What was the revenue last month? Or if it was weight loss, totally hear you. Life's been busy and crazy. Like, how much weight have you lost over the few months? Where are you at right now with your weight? Like, I need them to actually tell themselves the data. And this is where we're giving them the mirror so they get really honest about their situation. Let me see this right here. I work with any size. Let me just a little. Okay, cool. There's just a little thing in the chat. Once we get the results, then I want them to admit the problem and the dissatisfaction, that pain we talked about earlier. These are some examples of some problem questions. These first three. Okay, I know you mentioned you've been using XYZ reactivation campaign and seeing these results. I mean, can I ask, do you like the results and the approach so far? 90% of the time they're going to say no. And I know this and I want them to say no, so I can say, okay, what don't you like about it, or what's not working? I'm driving them towards a negative on purpose so that I can actually unpack that and go further. If it was weight loss, I'd be like, hey, I know you mentioned you've been doing like the keto diet and seeing some, some results. I guess I'm curious though, do you like the approach and the results so far over the last few years? Ah, man, not really. Okay, well, why not? So they're either going to say yes or they're going to say no to these kind of questions because they're close-ended questions. Is it working? Are you happy with the results? Do you like the approach and the results? These are all yes, no questions. They're either going to give you a yes or a no. If it's the yes, I would say, what do you like about it? If it's the no, I'd say, what don't you like about it? And they give me the yes. After they tell me all the pros, I would ask them for the cons after. So if they said, yeah, I do like the keto method, that's great. What do you like about it? Oh, I get to eat a ton of fats and I love my peanut butter and yada, yada. Like, well, it sounds like that's working. What would you want to improve about your results and your weight loss or the way you're doing it if you could? So even if they say they like it, guys, there's still, people just don't, how do I put this? Even if you had a Ferrari, there's going to be one thing that pisses you off about that beautiful red Ferrari. Maybe it's a little scratch on it. Maybe the volume knob doesn't work properly. There's going to be one thing that pisses you off. So even if they say, yes, they do like their approach, yes, they do like their method, don't get discouraged. There's still probably a problem hidden just a layer deeper. I'd love to get some takeaways, have a few of you guys come off mute, ask some questions. Let's just connect so I'm not shouting into the void. I see Kim, I see Ian,
Can I ask
Gary, Amy, yes, let's go.
All right. So I sell like high ticket affiliate marketing and network marketing.
Perfect.
My problem is usually, so I usually look for people who have a business or a job that gives them no time, and this provides the solution to that. So their problem is usually they don't like their job, or they, you know, like that kind of thing. I'm curious about the data for that.
Perfect. Easy. So back up here, you know, it would be like with that in mind, like what's the outcome you're looking for from adding like, you know, another source of revenue? Oh, I'm looking to leave my job. The situation, these questions here are going to be about what is their current job, how long have they been in it, how much are they making is going to be the data, and how many hours are they working? That's data. What's their current income and how many hours are they putting in? And then the problem is like, okay, I know you mentioned you've been like, I guess, are you happy? Is that an adequate amount of compensation for the time and effort you're putting in? Are you happy with the current role and the hours and everything? No, why not? The second they say no and you just freaking boom, why not? You will get all the juice and they will open up to you in a really big way about why they're not satisfied, how it's lacking, and this is where you come in with a solution. So when I used to sell the copywriting offer to women who wanted to quit their job, it's the same problem. I was like, what are you doing for a living now? I'm a teacher. Okay, how long have you been doing that? Okay, and what do they, I know it's different in Texas. How much do they pay there? Like, because I know I've heard different things. Oh, XYZ. And how many hours a week are you working? That's a good amount. I mean, dang, you've been doing that for 5 years. Are you okay with that? Do you like the job at this point? They're gonna say no. Why not? What don't you like? Boom. Now we're into the problem.
Cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll work really well for what you sell when you're helping people. That's called a biz op, where you're helping people leave their current, right, and transition essentially. I love selling those. Super fun.
It's cool, but I usually find like so far I've found that a lot of the sales stuff is really bro stuff. And I find like it's really awkward. All the scripts are bro stuff and I
Right,
can't
Amy?
follow I can't follow like I like the idea of a scriptless thing, and so if I can kind of more intuitively do it, that feels like something that I can do because I often get stuck kind of like falling for their objections or something. I'm like, oh, I can feel that. Maybe that's really true instead of instead of like crushing it.
Yeah, that's well said, guys, because it's really easy to, there's a thing called like frame control, which is like I can hear what someone says and I can appreciate their perspective, but I don't have to believe it or agree with it. So like when I first got into sales, they told me always agree. And I was questioning my mind. I was like, that can't make sense. Because my job is to install new beliefs into their mind. My job is to actually help this person change. So if I agree with everything they say, how am I going to help them change? So I
Yeah,
can have,
I was
yeah,
gonna say, Chris Voss calls that tactical empathy. So
yeah,
just you feel for them, but you don't necessarily agree with them.
exactly. I'm like, it's totally valid the way you feel. I didn't say I agree. I didn't say, oh, that's right. I totally hear how you feel. I mean, I appreciate you sharing that. And I can even flip it, and that's the reason why you're here, right? Is to make more money. So, for example, if they gave you the money objection, Amy, like totally hear you on that the funding is a concern, and ultimately that's why you're here, isn't it? To change your financial situation. So the money aside, would you do it? And now I'm not going to buy into it. Like I'm going to keep proceeding forward
Mm,
because like I actually understand that a lot of times the limitation that people give is actually what they're there to solve for. A lot of times the biggest limitation that people will give is actually what your solution will help them achieve. And they're stuck
mm.
in a hamster wheel and they're stuck in a cycle. So I
So
just choose not
yeah, a recent example was I had a guy who had like a preemie baby who was in the hospital, and his wife had, I don't know, she had some kind of business and he had the business, he had this other business or job, and he was working really hard, and they have the baby and the baby's new and the baby's sick and da, 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 and you're like all of this stuff, and I was like, yeah, maybe maybe it's a bad idea, like, but it was something that he really, really would have benefited from because he had no time, and so like
yeah.
often I get stuck in this thing where there's these two worlds, and I'm like, oh, which one do I go with? I feel like the devil and the angel are like sitting on my head while I'm on this call.
I would write this down, guys. I'm going to put it in the chat. Super simple language pattern that has helped me close tons and tons of deals. XYZ aside, would you do it? They're going to dump this big bullshit excuse. I wrap it in a bow by saying XYZ aside, would you do it? So I'm basically taking that big steaming pile of crap they just gave you. I'm putting it in a bow. I'm moving it to the side and I'm saying, would you do it? Totally hear you, and that's a lot going on, like empathy. And I am actually empathetic, but I know in my mind that what the actions they need to take to change doesn't really matter about the circumstance they're in. If they want new results, they're going to need to take those actions anyways. So I'm just so sold on that. In order for them to change, they're still going to take new actions. So I totally get it. The baby and the timing aside, would you do it? Now we're having a real conversation. Why would you do it? I'm deflecting all of that, moving it to the side. I'm like, I hear it, and I'm going to put it over here because it actually doesn't serve them. And it also doesn't serve you to really like go deeper into it. So X, Y, Z aside, would you do it? Money aside, would you do it? Timing aside, would you do it? Besides talking to your partner, would you do it? Now I'm back in the conversation because they just gave me a big pile of crap to basically get me off track. And I was like, nope, not taking that. Throwing it in the trash can for a second. We can look at it later, but it's actually not relevant. Because if they want the new outcome, they have to take a new action. It's that simple. Is that helpful?
That's so helpful. Really helpful.
For the rest of you guys, the XYZ aside, would you do it? Is that helpful?
Yeah, it's gangster. It really is, because you're putting everything, just let's get to the bottom line.
And would you do it presupposes action? And what is our job is to get them to take action. So there's like an implication in that phrasing around taking action. The money aside, would you do it? And then I always go, why would you do it? And they're going to give me two things. They're going to give me the logic and they're going to give me the emotion. Logic, they'll be like, oh, well, your program and product sounds great. I'm like, that's a very logical response. Totally get it, but why would you do it for you personally? And then that's the emotion. So I know when I ask money aside, would you do it? I'm going to get the logic first and emotion second, like 95% of the time. But what I'm looking for is the emotion, because that's the why. And when we get that big why out of them, that is what's going to help them overcome their limitation rather than us push them to overcome their limitation. I want them to push themselves to do it, not me to push them, because that feels like crap. I hate pushing people. But I like empowering them to push themselves. Key distinction there. Does that resonate for you guys? And we'll get back to the script. I know it's a bit of a tangent, but I feel like that would be helpful. I just get excited about this stuff. Sweet. Let's go take a look. So once we get problem, basically the first half of the sales conversation is just situation, data, and problem. Now, depending on who they are, we talked about doubt earlier, and the most classic way that I create doubt with someone is asking them this question. This has been my favorite doubt question, and I can give you guys different versions of it, but this is how I usually would create doubt. And I'd say, well, sounds like you've been, getting leads via Facebook ads the last few months, and I mean, I guess I'm just trying to understand why look at possibly getting some outside help and trying a new method with your leads now. Why not just keep doing the Facebook ads? See if it works itself out. At the foundation, this question is why make a change? Why not keep doing things the way you are? It's a little bit disguised, but at the foundation, it's why make a change? Why not keep doing things the way you are? And that's to get someone to admit that change needs to be made if they want to get change. It's to get them to admit that some change needs to be made if they want to get change. And that's where the doubt comes in, because if someone doesn't admit that change is needed, they're stuck in their ways. It's sunshine and rainbows, and they are not going to buy your shit. So if I was selling, when I sold sales training, I'd be like, well, why even look at getting some outside help with some sales training from Jeremy? Why not, I don't know, just dial more people, knock more doors, see if you could close more deals that way. They'd be like, oh man, I'm sick and tired of that. I'm like, okay, but why look at getting some help now though? Because you could just keep doing it the way you are, talk to your trainers on your team. They're like, no, it's not working. I'm essentially getting them to admit verbally that what they're doing will not get them to their goals. You guys with me on that? And Andrew and Ian, I guess just time-wise, this will probably take about 15 minutes more. So I'm wondering if you want to split this in two. Because I know
It's all up to you, brother. We got time if you
are you guys cool if we go a little over the top of the hour? Is that cool with you? Is this some sauce? I'd say drop sauce in the chat if you're getting some value. Freaking hot sauce, and we'll keep it going. Cholula is my favorite. Let's go. Sweet. So we are almost to the promised land. We'll get through the questions today, and then I'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll actually go through how to pitch, how to close, and we'll go through some of the foundations around objection handling as well. Louisiana hot sauce, extra sauce. Oh shit, let's go. All right, so let's pull this back up. why look at possibly getting some help? Why not do it on your own? Someone put negative selling, 100% it's negative selling. One of my favorite sales questions is anything that starts with why not? It's in the negative and it feels less triggering. If you say, why get on a diet? Someone's like, screw you. If you say, why not just keep doing the same approach you're doing now? They're actually going to give you a valid answer. They're going to be like, well, it's not working. It's not getting me results. I feel like I'm stuck. I'm not happy. It's less accusatory. Because anytime I ask something in the positive, it feels like I'm trying to sell them. And anytime I try to ask something in the negative, it just feels like a little less defensive. You guys have probably maybe heard of no-based questions, like Chris Voss talks a lot. Instead of saying, would you like to move forward? He's like, would that be such a
Yeah.
crazy idea? Or would you be opposed to moving forward with that? Would you hate me if I asked you to do this? No, no, no. And the no is a yes. It's the same concept. But
Would
just
it be ridiculous to blah, blah, blah.
exactly. Would it be ridiculous too? So instead of saying, it's like, why not just keep doing it the way you have? Why not just keep doing things the way you are? Gets them to admit they need to change. These are the type of answers I'm looking for. I want to do it faster. I don't know where to start. I want a proven system. I'm stuck and frustrated. It won't get me to the goal. I need something different. At this point in the conversation, we've executed the first half of the sale, which is the problem. We've got their current strategy. We've got them to admit they're not happy with their results. They've told me how long they've had the problem. We didn't cover this in detail, but I'll talk about it later. They're going to tell me the impact of the problem, and they're going to tell me why they don't want to just keep doing things the way they are. At this point, I feel like, hey, we've got the 80-20 of the call. Even if you pitch now and you forgot everything else, you guys would be in a really good position to actually sell. Because you've got the 80-20. Like, this is the most important piece, is this first half, these problem questions that we have here. Everything beyond it is like essentially it's gravy on top. Now, the first half is problem. The second half of the conversation is solution. So I try to keep it simple. It's a problem solution format. And when it comes to solution, there's two pieces to it. One is, what have they tried for solutions? And what do they feel like they actually need? This is for when I sell for Andrew, so I'll help you guys script out some examples of here. But the first solution question I always want to ask is about their past behavior. I'm not focusing on the question, I'm telling you what the question is, which is about past behavior. And the reason being is past behavior is often a really good indicator of future behavior. If someone has been overweight, not eating properly for years, why would they change now? Like, I need to understand if someone has had, I'll give you an example. So let's say you guys sell lead gen. Besides chatting with us, what else have you tried in terms of actually getting some expert help to dial in your advertising and your marketing so you could get consistent leads? I'm understanding their past buying behavior. That way I have a chance to actually be proactive and help them get ahead of the curve. Because if they tell me, oh, I've just watched YouTube videos, oh, I haven't invested in anyone actually at all, I need to understand, well, what stopped you from investing? What did you like about other possible solutions? What did you not like? Essentially, I'm getting a chance to see, have they just been shopping around for a long time and not taking action? I want to get clear on what's, like, what kind of past behaviors. Is that making sense, guys? I'd love to hear a couple thoughts on that one. Feel free to come off mute. We can talk about that first question. Amy's in it. She's playing all out. I love it. So after that, we get, okay, what do they actually want in a solution? So if you, me, and Andrew, we could hang out here in Cabo and connect, what would you actually ask him for in terms of guidance? This is because I sell for Andrew. But if you're selling for yourself, it'd be like, I guess I'm just curious, what do you actually feel like you need in terms of guidance and support so that you can get to your goal? It's a very direct question, super simple question, and it works really well. The reason we're asking these is to set ourselves up to create an emotional high, because people buy on emotion, they justify it with logic. And the place I find the most emotion in the conversation is actually about the future state and what happens if they never get to have that future state. So I'll say that one more time. The place I find the most emotion typically is about the possible future and what happens if they never get to have those feelings, if they never get to have that experience. So for this one, let's say it was a weight loss. So let's say we did come in and we help you with a custom plan and you're able to lose the 10 kilos. Like, what would that do for you? If you guys sell a business, it could be what would that do for the business? You could either do you or what would that do for the business? Depends what you guys sell. They're going to give some surface level logical answer. Oh, it would allow me to play with my kids. It would allow me to do X, Y, Z. It'll be kind of like a layer one. If we know that emotion sells, then we need to ask emotional questions. So I would follow that up with, well, what would that do for you personally? So we'll use an example here with Amy. She sells the network marketing, the affiliates. I would say, so let's say we're able to come in and actually help you create that extra 5 to 10K per month. Like, what would that do for you? Like, knowing that you had that extra source of income. Oh, well, I mean, it would just be, I would be able to travel. I'd be able to take time off work. They're going to tell you how their life changes logically. And then we follow it with emotion. Well, what would that do for you personally, though, actually being able to do that? Or how would that allow you to feel? Or what would that mean for you to actually be able to do that? I'm always looking for the logic followed by the emotion. The trend that I've seen in conversation is my first questions typically produce a logical answer, and then my follow-up questions, when I probe and I go deeper, produce the emotion. Ian, heads nodding. What are you thinking, Ian? Curious your thoughts.
Oh, I was just seeing how like you're like the whole thing with like, you know, on in Cabo with Andrew, and you're able to basically ask them any questions. It makes them visualize that in their mind, and then you're moving them through like the questions that they should be asking themselves to make that a reality. And then I can see a little bit lower, you're just going to pull the rug out from underneath them and be like, so what if you don't do anything? So I really see like what's going on here. It's really cool.
Precisely. It's an emotional roller coaster on purpose. So we're creating the emotional high, and then we're creating the emotional low, the contrast, because I think of it as polarity and I think of it as magnets. Without that polarity and without that emotional tension, what we're doing is we're helping someone create the emotional tension internally, not through me pushing them, but through them feeling it in themselves that they need to change.
Through them telling themselves their own story and their own reality and what it could be and what it's not. Yeah. It's through them telling it
the potential
themselves.
future, and then also the other potential future if things don't change. So they're contrasting two futures, and they're literally putting them on a scale. They're envisioning future 1 and they're envisioning future 2, and I'm having them put those two on a scale next to each other and feel it, and then essentially get them to commit which future are you committed to.
Yeah.
That's not the exact language, and we'll go into the language here. And I like for you guys to write it in your own words, but this is what we're doing, is getting them the emotional high, the emotional low, and then saying, are you ready to change so you can have the emotional high? Or what happens if you don't? So let's review it. The logic is going to be the first piece. Let's say we come in, we help you lose the weight. What would that do for you? Or let's say we come in, dial in your leads, get you the best cold email machine. What would that do for the business? Okay, but what would that do for you knowing that you had that stable lead machine? Like, what would that do for you personally? Oh my God, I would feel such a relief. And what would that mean for like you and the business and your guys' ability to scale? Oh man, it would be so freeing knowing that we can actually have that consistency. I could focus on XYZ and ABC. And then we transition to the reality check, which is this emotional low. This question right here, guys, the reason I insert this question is because after taking 5,000 calls, I found that asking the emotional low question, people usually didn't give me a good response. They actually, in fact, gave me pretty much the exact opposite response of what I wanted. And I was like, I've got to find a way to make this work. Because I would ask people the question, what happens then if nothing changes? You know, your weight stays the same, your diet stays the same, you're not able to play with your kids. They would usually give me an answer like, oh, I'll figure it out anyways. Oh, we'll find a way. And what that is,
Now,
I have
oh,
a question.
go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead of you, Kamaya. I didn't see you had your
no,
hand.
No,
no
no,
worries. I was just
Um,
trying to see with the past buying behaviors, where does that come in with this question? Because you kind of went past it, but I wanted to not
Yeah,
forget about that.
the past buying behaviors is right here. So besides chatting with us, what else have you tried? If they say nothing, I'm going to ask them what's prevented them. If they tell me that they've been shopping around, I'm going to ask them, okay, did you buy any of those other solutions? And if they say no, I'm still going to understand why not. The past buying behaviors allows me to figure out what stopped them from purchasing a solution in the past, because that's probably going to be the limitation in the present, if that makes sense. whatever pattern has stopped them in the past,
Okay.
usually going to be what stops them in the present. Does that actually help clarify, or I'm just want to make sure I'm actually helping you the most?
Yeah, it really does. Because I'm thinking about what you just said about the emotional high and the low,
Yes.
like, and how that plays in, like, based on where they go, right? Let's say they've never invested in anything, right? How would you give them that low negative, and they're like, well, I've never done anything anyway. Like,
Well,
know?
yeah, that comes back to up here and problem. Right here, this whole section is about getting them to admit they're not satisfied with their current situation, their current state, relative to what you sell. Remind me what your offer is again?
Oh, I do tax planning and financial advising.
And financial what?
Advising.
Advising. Cool. So with them, it would be like, cool, so what is your current like financial strategy? What is your current plan? Okay, and are you happy with the progress and results that you've had in your financial life over the last 4 or 5 years? No, why not? What don't you like about it? What's not working? What have you experienced? Like, I would really get them to admit that they're not happy with the progression and the results they're having in their financial life. So then when we go to ask that low question, it's going to be based off that context. It's going to sound something like, well, what happens then if you just kind of, I don't know, just keep putting together your financial plan the way you have, the results kind of progress the same rate, and you never actually get to retire at like a planned age, and you just never have that security. What would that be like? How would that sit with you? How would that feel? Like, I would really dig into that emotion.
Okay, because I've had some objections, like you said, from the ego person that feels like everything's fine,
Yep.
like everything's great.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why are you on the call with me?
Right. So, and that's where I always get confused. Like, well, where?
So if you guys really want to take the ego people and slap them, oh yeah, well, I mean, sure. I mean, obviously you're doing great. It's always about the next level. So what's the next level for you look like in your tax planning and your finance? Now they're telling you what's next. So instead of trying to disagree with them and be like, no, you're not good, I roll with it. I agree. And I go, what's next? Oh, I'm going to slap their ego. Is there no new level higher for you at this point? Like you couldn't do any physically better? Because I'm not sure. I mean, if that's the case, they probably don't have something that could help you. And then they're going to go, that's you saying, I'm out of here. They're going to go, no, 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 no. I do have something that I can help with. Your ego will finally cave and they'll give you the real problem.
Okay. This is
Like,
good.
yeah, it's like if they're saying I'm satisfied, I'm like, well, why even look at, I don't get it. Like, why would you even look at new tax planning and a new program and help? Like, why not just keep doing things the way you are? Remember that question earlier? Why not just keep doing it the way you are? That's your chance to get them to admit that they need help. Why not just keep doing what you've always been doing? It seems like it's going really well.
Okay, that's great.
They're cooked.
Yes.
They're either gonna give you a real answer, or you're gonna realize there's no sale to be made and you just take it away at this point. If they can't give you a good answer to that, you go, look, I don't think what I do would be helpful for you then, because it sounds like things are going really well. In that act of you taking the product off the table and you showing your power, they're actually going to probably cave in their frame and admit the problem, or you're going to end the call and part as friends, which is actually best for you and for them. It's a willingness to take it away. You don't have to pitch everyone.
Thank you. This is gold.
Some juice. We got some sauce today. How do you think I can help? Yeah, how can I help? I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, how do you think I might possibly be able to help? It seems like you're doing really well. I give them that compliment to stroke their ego. It seems like, I mean, you're doing really quite well. And then that way, once they feel validated and cool, then you can rip the rug. I wish humans weren't this complicated, but it's 5,000 calls. You just start to see some stuff. So
Thank you.
we create the emotional high, and then we transition to the emotional low. And the softener question here, especially with those egos, is just being as realistic as possible with me. If you keep doing things the way you are, what are the chances of you getting to XYZ goal and being able to do XYZ? So just being as realistic as possible with me. If you just keep staying in that 9 to 5 and you wait for the raises every year, what are the chances of you getting to that 12K per month, being able to have the time off and actually be with your family and be a present father like you mentioned you wanted? It won't happen. It won't happen. So what happens if nothing changes though? Like you stay in the job, you keep doing the same thing for the next 5 years, you're not able to have those memories. Like what would that mean for you, your future, and your family? Now they're facing it. And this question acts as a softener because they kind of admitted that it won't happen already. Rather than them telling me, oh, it can't happen, it won't happen, I'm getting them to basically say that it will happen. Because the common response I got that I did not like from this is that won't happen. I won't let it happen. This is me forcing them to admit that it will happen if they don't make change. So I'm stealing that question away from them, that shitty answer, but through this question, so that way I don't get the bad answer. I'm basically like, I'm like, I don't want to hear that response because it will happen. They're just ignoring it. They're avoiding. And now we have to fight with them and it kind of sucks. Once they admit what's going to happen, then we can use one of these questions here to establish commitment because now they've really admitted the consequence. This is where I believe the sale is made, meaning if they have the funds, if your product doesn't suck, if you pitch it decently, like, and you make it make sense, if they have the funds, then they should be able to proceed. It just becomes a conversation around logistics, not a should I do it, it's a how/when. So the qualifying question is like, okay, well, knowing that you won't let that happen, how are you committed to make a change here? Or, okay, but why make this change now? Why not push it off? Or, okay, knowing that that's the truth, is this a nice to have or something you're truly committed to? Oh no, I'm committed. I'm getting them to verbalize one last time before I pitch that they are committed to change. The last words I want to come out of someone's freaking face before I pitch them is that they're committed to get a solution, they're committed to change. So now I know it's like, cool. It's not a should I do it, it's just a how and a when and making it make sense. So I think this is a good place to pause. Next week, or 2 weeks from now, whenever we do the next workshop, we'll go over how you transition at this point into the pitch, the structure of the pitch, the closing, and then the objection handling as well. And I've got some successful like live sales calls in here for you guys as well that'll be in the insiders. So you guys can actually listen to some very natural sales calls that like aren't scripted. Like I'm using these frameworks, but not like following it like a robot. So you'll have that in there for you guys. Sweet.
This was awesome. Thank you.
That was awesome,
Appreciate it, brother.
Jason. Yeah, that was fantastic, buddy.
Yeah, guys, what I'll do, I'll have Andrew put me into the insiders group, and then I'll either put it in the course or put it, you guys let me know how you want me to get you the content actually.
Yeah, I'll get it squared away for you.
Yeah, I can let him in, Andrew. I just don't like, I just need his email. That's all.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
We'll get it squared away. No worries.
Yeah. I'd love to get some takeaways, some gold nuggets before we hop off. Yeah, what were some simple takeaways? I think it's always good to just put that, get it to stick in mind.
I was just going to say all of it, the framing, the control, the questions, especially the negative questions, and getting them to do your sales script through the questions. At every turn, I can tell that you've been doing this for years and you are extremely masterful because we've all been pitched, right? We're in a high ticket program. We've all been pitched 1,000 times. We know what it feels like when it's horrible. We know what it feels like when it's awesome, but you're even more sophisticated than a lot of the high ticket sellers that, you know, I've experienced at least. So just excellent.
Yeah. So the negative questions, I'm not that cool. So the negative questions though.
That was a Jeremy thing right there. I noticed it. That was a Jeremy thing. I'm not that cool.
Gotta steal that one. It's a good one. Gotta steal that. We used to spend a lot of time together. The why not do it yourself? If you guys can just take that, you'll close some sales for sure. Why not?
It's so funny. I forgot about like like the things you were mentioning. Like, oh yeah, somehow these things drift out of your routine sometimes, and they definitely have. And the whole like now like looking at my fathoms and seeing like, am I asking enough questions to make them do the script? Like that right there for me is just that alone would probably end up closing 70% more people, or not closing, but them opting in. It's the difference between persuading and giving them the solution that they want, or trying to convince them, you know, that this is a better solution. So yeah, I loved it, man. So
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Helped out.
mine will have to be the doubt, really creating the doubt and understanding the spectrum of it. Because I
Yeah.
never really knew the whole spectrum of doubt. That was my big nugget. Because you're just like you said, the ego people, they feel like they know everything, and I'm automatically just want to hang up. Like, why are you even talking to me then? But now I get it. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
great.
I just love to agree with those people and be like, yeah, I mean, clearly you're crushing it. So like, what is the next level? You're a big guy. Like, what's next, man? You just roll with it, right? You're like, take that ego momentum and just move it into a higher goal. Because if they have a big ego, so one thing I used to do with sales reps is if they had a really high ego, and I'd be like, what's your goal? And they're like, 100K. I'd be like, oh, 100K per month? Because they were saying 100K for the year, right? And so I would just be like, oh, 100K months? He's like, oh, no, 100K for the year. Oh, okay, I remember hitting my first 100K. That's fine. Anyway, so let me ask you this. And then I would just roll on, just as like a
Right.
to
No,
break,
that's really good.
really break their perspective and their frame. It's just knowing your audience. Some of you guys will never have this cocky person. It'll be 1%. It's not a problem. But depending on what you sell and who you sell to, it can be a common issue that you're up against.
Yeah, it's just the industry of financials. Like, everybody feels like they're doing great. Obviously, that's not true statistically. And that's the stuff that I
But
deal with.
we can't just say that to them though, right?
Right, of course. Exactly.
We got to ask questions, create that doubt, get in their head, get them to reconsider. So that's great.
We end up running into one of two complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Either the end of the spectrum where they have everything under control and they know everything that there is to know, and they watch Jay for fun. And then we get the opposite end of it where they have little or no belief in the vehicle itself, in which we then have to overcome that. But this has all been like freaking amazing. I love everything you do, Mason. You're a wonder for sure.
Appreciate it, guys.
Crush it.
You said no belief. They don't believe in cold email, or what is it they don't believe in?
Yeah, they have a lot of doubt in cold email itself, and so it's like we gotta see if cold email even works, right? So it's like that's the most common thing that we get with like our $97 offer. Like they're willing to spend $97 because they don't believe, cold email will work. But then because they don't believe it'll work, they don't put any effort into it. And so there's, it ends up where.
Yeah. So then with those people, it's like, and this will be fun. We should do a team training on that then. If that's is that a common situation?
Absolutely. Yep.
They're not sold on cold email. So the thing we got to get them sold on first is that what they're currently doing is not working. And then how would you ever know if you never try?
It's the thing of them, they're dipping their toe in, right? And the only frame that I've been able to go with on this one is just being like, oh, what else have you only dipped your toes in before, and not necessarily like went 100% at. And I try to frame the picture of maybe it's not what you're trying, maybe it's how you're trying it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I need to refine it. I need help.
Yeah,
with that
yeah.
because
So
it's a weird line.
Can I make a suggestion?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
So when your prospects are questioning you, who is the focus on? It's on you.
It's on, and we want to put it on
them.
Yeah.
Precisely. So like totally. I would just agree, be like, yeah, maybe cold email is not right for you. Do you mind if I ask you some questions though, just to see if we could even help? And now I'm drilling back into those questions. I'm going right back into the fucking frame because it doesn't even matter. Who cares? I mean, you're here because you want to find a solution, right? Okay. Yeah. So what are you doing currently? Okay. Is it working? Are you happy with your current results? No, why not? And then getting them, we don't have to sell them on cold email. I just need to get them sold that their current situation sucks and that they want change. And then we can sell them on cold email later even. Because be like, well, dude, honestly, I'm still not sure if cold email would work for you, but if it did, it'll be super helpful. what we can do is we can book another time. I can give you some content to look at it and some homework, and then we can have another call. That's where you have a webinar that sells them on cold email, a longer form 60-minute video of some sort that actually just gets Jay to destroy all the belief, like vehicle objections, his credibility, his results, his testimonials, and we just overcome all those through like a webinar.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's definitely something we look into doing, because that's ultimately what it is like they buy that $97 offer where we basically give them all of the stuff. And so their excuse then is like, we want to wait and see if that $97 offer is going to work. Right.
It's the doubt thing. So like they're
Yeah. Yep.
basically, it's when I sold the black book for Jeremy Miner, it was like a book about questions. And people would be like, I want to do a book on my own. And I'm like, this is where like good analogies can come in. And also what we really want is data around their results over time. Totally, you can do it on your own. Can I ask what's the current revenue of the business and how long have you been stuck at that revenue for? Okay. So like, can I share a perspective? Be like, well, what? This sounds like you're losing about 10K a month. Why is it that you're choosing like the $97 expecting to like solve like a 300K a year problem? What's behind that kind of action and behavior? So I started to create doubt around the way they make decisions.
Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah.
If I can start to quantify how big of a problem this is, I'm like, dude, you could.
Yeah,
like-
and it's the same offer, like essentially like Jeremy's black book and Jay's like $97. They're the self-liquidating offers to get people in. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, I like how you framed it.
So yeah, maybe we can chat offline, guys, then, because that gives me better context how to help you guys too.
Awesome, man. You're a rock star. I love it.
Dude, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, we'll create. If I can make a recommendation, I'll put like I'd love to pin a like sales thread in the insiders group for you guys, and then questions, and you guys could put clips of calls. I just ask that you keep it to 10 minutes or less. I won't guarantee that I'll reply to all of them, but when I have time, I'm happy to do some quick call reviews for you too. Just clip the part of the call 10 minutes or less that you want feedback on, and just as a bonus, happy to help you guys with that as well.
Awesome, brother.
Absolutely awesome. And then listen, if you guys got any value at all out of this training, please drop some love in the community. And I'd also love to know for you guys, obviously Mason is typically at a much higher dollar per hour average than a lot of us are. I have tried to get him to be able to free up some of his time for coaching, but to be able to do that, his hourly is probably going to be a bit higher than what some of our other coaches are in there. So if you guys would find value in that and would be interested in having him come in and actually allow one-to-one coaching for you guys, let us know that too, so that we can try and make some arrangements and see what we can do for you. We're definitely going to have him back for at least the foreseeable future for a couple of times a month, first to third Tuesdays, I believe. So
yeah, we can start there, and then this is a great turnout today. We keep the momentum going. Go to weekly at some point.
I think it's going to get a lot bigger once everyone starts posting and once everyone starts disclosing what they just learned. It's gonna,
Drop some love in the insiders insiders group, and stoked to see you guys on the next one. I guess what I could do, I can put my school, so you guys can also DM me if you have any questions on there. That's a good place to access me. So I'll drop my school profile in the chat real quick. Let me see here.
Yeah, I just found it, and then I'm gonna get you into the other group too, so you'll get an
probably
invite.
Just put it in the group and pin it there. That'll be the easiest place, I think. But I'll put it just in
Mason
case you guys have questions.
Okay.
Sweet, guys.
Beautiful. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, guys.
See you guys later in the week.
Peace.
You're a rock star.
Okay. Ciao. Appreciate you guys. Bye.